30 seconds or less? Then check out Marketing Grader, the free marketing tool from HubSpot. It's simple. Just go to marketinggrader.com, enter the URL that you want to analyze, and Marketing Grader will instantly give you a detailed report grading your lead generation, mobile marketing, social media, competitive benchmarking, and more. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's free. marketinggrader.com.
You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
And welcome to this show. This is our first show of the new year, the new decade, and we're starting off strong here on Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Richard Franzi. This is podcast episode number 1261. This is our 1,574th interview, and I think it's going to be an awesome one. We've been on the air since March of 2009. We're the longest-running business podcast emanating from beautiful Orange County, California. The Elon Musk of real estate, Roy Dekel, is revolutionizing the real estate industry as a philanthropist and the CEO of SetSchedule. Roy gives back to his community and supports startups in need. He also has founded the SetSchedule Cares Foundation, which is raising money through matching employees and volunteer time. His goal for this year is to raise at least $1.5 million, which could be distributed to up to 19,000 charities that the employees have selected. If you'd like to learn more about this radio show podcast or the CEO peer groups that I lead, why don't you visit our company's website, criticalmass4business.com. It's a great pleasure to welcome Roy to the show. Roy, welcome to Critical Mass.
Thank you for having me. So we're excited to be here.
All right, great. Let's. I did a big build-up on the intro, so you can't let us down, all right?
I'll work on it.
All right, this is our first show of the new year and the new decade. Tell us about SetSchedule. From my perspective, I'm interested, what makes it unique kind of in the eyes of your customers and your prospects, Roy?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I think that to address the question, I think the best way to do it is to go back to basics or to the roots of the name, right? You probably want to ask yourself, why SetSchedule, right? And we kind of like realize very quickly that there's the time is basically a priceless commodity, right? Yes. I mean, truly, it's the only thing you cannot buy more of or manufacture more of. So we really cherish that aspect. And what we do is really obsess over creating software that improves efficiency efficiency of business over business or on business development, basically creating the kind of like the 360 concept behind different mobile platforms that service our target demographic, which predominantly is real estate professionals. And that's that. That's the key aspect of SetSchedule.
So how long ago did you decide this was the next thing to train your talents on? When did you start SetSchedule?
So SetSchedule, the concept evolved around 2015. I mean, we really rolled out in 2015. Initially, we still, I want to believe that we bootstrap, right? But we came with the concept of addressing the real estate market, real estate agents, teams, and brokers, and mortgage brokers in a way that hasn't been done before. Everything that we do is proprietary and fully patented. So the concept started in 2015. We've grown in basically 200% year over year and have tens of thousands of active users in the space of real estate. And it's been a great ride so far.
Right, because you and your firm came to my attention because I was looking for fast-growing companies that are here in Southern California to bring on the show to share kind of the best practices. And you clearly, with the numbers that you just gave, you fit that category very well as a fast-growing company. You sort of mentioned the niche that you service, but I'd like to maybe give you a little bit more time to explain to me the successful niche, why you picked it, who they are, what made that the right area for you to choose to solve their problems first.
Okay, so that's a good question. I mean, to kind of like dive into the micros, I guess, if you will, and the products, right? I mean, we realized around 2015 that basically there's a huge gap in marketing and marketing conversion and lead conversion, and the cost was astronomical, specifically for real estate agents and brokers. So we basically made a point to create a much more economical and effective way through software and mobile technologies to allow agents to basically click, download an app, and talk to a prospect. Right. And basically through that concept, we came up with what we call today the Referral Radar, which is our core product. It's the agnostic marketplace tech, which basically aggregate leads from many well-known names such as Realtor.com, Homes.com, Facebook.com, RealtyTrack.com. So basically that marketplace aggregates tremendous amount of leads. We basically take the inventory from these companies and they sell the inventory to us on an exclusive basis. They go to the marketplace, and when it goes to our marketplace, then it's basically being consumed by our end users, by our clients, by real estate agents and teams and brokers. And from there, basically our product, our SaaS products, our product suites of software as service, services and helps our client track, nurture, convert, and follow up with the home shoppers, whether it's renters, sellers, buyers, or real estate investors.
So how did you select the real estate industry? Because that need that you talked about is prevalent in many industries. Why real estate?
So we picked the biggest, right?
Okay.
I mean, the real estate industry is the biggest. You're talking about millions of licensed individual agents. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of brokers. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of mortgage brokers and hundreds of thousands of title officers. So as we expand the reach, it's pretty easy to see that the real estate industry is the biggest. I mean, from the count of the amount of licensed individual sales representatives in the industry, it's the biggest.
Okay.
Obviously, we have plans to expand, but we're very, very surgically focused on our core clients and our core product, which is the real estate.
And what did you see inside the real estate industry that said, yeah, our idea is going to be a disintermediator. It's going to have legs inside the real estate industry. What was the pain that you saw that you said, yeah, we can build a company?
Well, you just answered it. It's a pain that we saw and we experienced. So everything that we come up with is something that we felt.
Okay.
Right? If you don't feel it, don't do it, right? I mean, if you can't, especially as a founder, as a CEO, as a co-founder, if you experience something that hurts you fundamentally and you think that it aches you and you realize that I wish there was something that I can, do about it.
If only I had this, yeah.
You just do it, right?
Right.
So that's what we did. We realized that most of the real estate community, I'd say 90% of the real estate community churns from the space, quits after a year and a half.
Right.
And most of the real estate community doesn't have the ample amount of budget or the sufficient amount of budget to actually compete against the agent next door.
Right.
And we really came with this obsession of solving that problem. We came with the obsession of creating a free mobile application, or mobile applications, I should say, and software product that allows every Joe agent download the app, engage with the app, and hopefully be successful. I mean, we really obsess over execution and success. I mean, sometimes we're successful, sometimes we're not. But I mean, obviously, the count of users that come on a regular basis just is astronomical. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of agents.
Okay, so I'm talking with Roy Dekel. He is the founder of SetSchedule. You sound a little bit like Robin Hood to me there for a moment, where you were trying to help the larger group, because it's a very small subset of the real estate agents who are really thriving, isn't it? Where there's a very large base that haven't really scaled their business to a point that is kind of can be considered a successful business practice. Is that what you're saying as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And it's painfully true. I mean, we go home pretty much almost every day feeling the pain, because we do not want to discriminate the agents or our client base based on track record and success and conversions. I mean, many companies out there do. And if they don't, they are extremely expensive. I mean, if you go to Zillow or other companies, you have to spend a lot of money to get there, to be able to compete. We are very economical and we are very user friendly. And for us, we see 90% of our clients struggling. They're struggling. And when they come to us, they struggle. When they come to us, they come with the same preconceived notions that the other 89% or 89.99% of their peers come with. And we really struggle with the concept of bleeding the culture to them, our internal culture to them, to hopefully be successful with or without technology.
Wow, that's amazing. I can see why your company is growing. I wish we had more time to spend on this point, because there are other questions I'd like to ask you, but we have other questions. So, audience, we will have to move on. Maybe Roy will come back on later this year and we can talk about something else or go a little bit deeper if you're open to that.
Absolutely.
All right. I'd like you to think about a time in your career where you failed at something that that was important at the time, or you felt this was very important to you? And if you can think of a time like that, Roy, can you explain the circumstances of the event and maybe share with our audiences what lessons you've learned from that experience? Do you have one?
Oh, well, I definitely, yes, I
Okay.
definitely have one, and it's an embarrassing one. It's a painful one that I don't want to say I'm happy to share, but I think it's very beneficial to the audience to listen, because I think that most people didn't go through that experience. I think that if you listen to the idea, to the story, you'll understand the points that I'm going to try to make here. And I'm talking about a hard period that it's not about me being a Navy SEALs in Israeli military or being an officer in the officer academy. That was the easy part. The difficult part was when I was 28, somewhere around 2007, 2008. My friend of mine and I co-founded a company, and we named it Diverse Financial. And the company, within very, very short time frame, I mean, less than a year, became basically a multi-million dollar profitable company. I mean, we didn't know how to spend the money. It was crazy. I mean, we were on cloud nine, right? And the first question that came to mind was, okay, how do we scale more? How do we grow faster?
Sure, why not?
Right, and the first thing that came to mind, and mind you, I mean, we've been doing this during the recession. I mean, we were killing it during the recession, and you know, and we said let's hire resumes, right? Let's hire executives, right? And that's what we did. I mean, we went out and we hired executives with amazing resumes, 25 years more experience than us. I mean, 25, 26 years older. Not that age has anything to do with it, but, you know, we were enamored. We were enamored by the executive that we hire, and we basically kind of like assigned our work, our job as co-founders to the executive. And, you know, that was 2008, 2009, fast forward 2010, 11. Unfortunately, my friend and founder, or co-founder, had to leave for personal reasons, and now I'm with the executive for hire, for lack of a better term, and the managers for hire. And quite frankly, just to fast forward from that point on, everything started to go south. The company was slowly but surely not profitable, and basically, I realized through the journey that the hired help did not have the founder's love to the company. They did not have the founder's love to the company. No matter what I did, I just couldn't reverse and bring the company to where the company was in its glory days of 2008, 2009. Fast forward at the end of it, the company, or one of the funds, crashed and burned, even though I ran a very successful fund on my end, extremely successful fund on my end. But we ended. The company naturally died, and I ended up with Security and Exchange Commission's investigation, reputation challenges. To this day, I'm dealing with the reputation issues, right? And I was just devastated. I mean, I felt like dirt. I mean, lower than dirt, and I mean, I'm getting the shivers just talk about it now. But I'll stop here, and I kind of like stop and give three main points that, in my opinion, are so detrimental to founders, to CEOs, to young leaders, or even senior leaders. Number one, which is extremely important, is don't hire. Okay, don't hire with the belief that a resume would be better than what you can do.
Okay.
Don't hire your job away. Okay, be responsible and don't be blindsided by the glamour and the resume. Number two is and that's an important one, and that ties to the don't be blindsided. And again, that's me being the stubborn SEAL that I am, right, or was, right, is don't be blindsided. I mean, if you believe that something is right, just push for it, and don't prolong the inevitable, which leads me to the third point, which is, if it's time to kick the bucket, if the product doesn't work anymore, or if the company doesn't work anymore, kick the bucket, stop it, and move on.
I'm going to ask that we play the gong for our listening audience, as they know when they hear the gong, you may want to go back probably about 90 seconds to 2 minutes most, and recapture the story, which was Roy's answer to that question. So unfortunately, that's one of those experiences that you're never going to forget. That's probably colored the decisions that you've made in the future. I believe that we can learn a lot from other people's experiences. We don't have to do it ourselves. That's why I do this show. So thank you for giving a little bit of obviously an embarrassing and painful time in your life. And I'm sorry to hear that some of the reputational stuff is following you today from all that time, but it's probably fueling your desire to make SetSchedule the best company it can be.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the SEALs days. Again, I'm going back to military training, but it's all about keep pushing and running. And even if you have a heavier weight on your back, just keep plugging away and move forward. Even if it's on, have a controlled growth rate, okay, and make sure that the people around you, I mean, you don't hire your partners, you need to know your partners. You really need to make sure that you have people that really care about you and your company the same way that you care about your company.
Yeah, that unfortunately, that's an all too, I think that's a great transferable lesson, because a lot of times people, when they're successful, they see somebody who's been there and done that before, and they just assume they can do it better because they've seen, but if they don't have the fire in the belly that a founder might have, you might be suffering something significant because of that. Thank you, Roy. We have a few more minutes here on Critical Mass Radio Show, so I wonder if you could talk about a strategic decision that you're making with the company. And you know, you're a fast-growing company. You've probably made a lot of good decisions that haven't kept you from growing quickly. If there was one piece of advice that you could share with our audience who are building or want to build fast growth companies, is there something that you guys did early in SetSchedule that you continue to do as a culture that's allowing you to kind of have less friction in the growth? Because growth can cause friction, I'm sure, organizationally and in the marketplace. Is there something you could share with our audience that you guys are doing right that you would like to give the audience an insight into?
Well, absolutely. The thing that I'm most proud of is our people. Which we absolutely put first. I mean, it may be debatable with some Fortune 500 companies, executives, etc., but we definitely put our teams number one, and our teams, number one, take care of our customer, which is their number one. That's kind of like a hierarchy. So we love our teams, we love our leadership, and it's really important. And again, it's coming from my lifelong experience, right, of having the right people around you at all costs. At all costs. So when we bring our team, they understand that they have stock options in the company. They understand that this is their company, this is our company. It's not my company, it's not our company. And I have a co-founder, by the way, Udi Dorner, which I love to death. And we have great leadership and partners in the company, but any single employee should and sees the company as their own company.
So how do you, it sounds that culture then for SetSchedule is an important thing that you care about. Maybe it's partly from your military training and your realization of how important the team is to a mission.
Right.
Right. So how do you reinforce that in the culture of SetSchedule? Is that intentional from you? Is that intentional from your leaders? I mean, how do you make sure that the culture that you want is the culture that you get within SetSchedule?
So, like, first of all, start with a phenomenal chief people officer, right? I mean, we have Shayna, which is chief people officer and handles everything from events to events to events. I'll give you a perfect example. I mean, we don't just talk, and the way to get doing, right, is by scheduling, by setting your goal, setting a plan, and scheduling a due date, right? So for us, for example, for our people, our due date, our glorious due date for the year is our annual gala. And when we spend so much on our annual gala, just because we want to have the most glamorous event where we actually recognize individuals, but not only recognize, but create ceremonies and gifts and bonuses. And beyond the bonuses, they have certain specific, unique incentives that are like event-oriented incentives. I mean, we have a corporate gym membership. We do a whole lot of things that create this positive feeling.
So that leads me very easily then into the SetSchedule Cares Foundation. I mean, how did you start that? Why did you start that? And where is it today within the culture of the company?
So I want to give credit to my business partner, Udi Dorner. I mean, and his family, the Dorners, really came with high value, moral values of, and that's why he's my partner. Again, I execute the plans of what I preach, right? And as a partner, they were very much involved with tremendous amount of charities, and that was in the initial kind of like step one for me to get the exposure to charitable donations and charitable giving. And they were very involved, and I got involved with their charities initially. And I realized that by getting involved in doing good, I felt just as great as reaching or achieving our corporate goals and our corporate financial matrix. And so what we decided is, and what I decided is that we'll establish basically a global set schedule foundation that would be solely in the business. The same way that we have the corporate financial business plan, we have the charitable business plan or the charitable plan with the Set Schedule Care Foundation, and it basically it's a group that consistently focuses on scheduling events on multiple different charities, whether it's the Israeli Institute of Technology, or whether it's cancer charity or kid charity, and basically creates the exposure in the local community here in LA, and some of it is also done nationally. And we basically obviously set our goal, like you said, to reach 1.5 million, where we distribute that through all of the charities.
And it's my understanding that the way you've come up with 19,000 possible charities recipients are through the advice and what your employees have nominated. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
With everything that we do, we empowered our staff as partners, right? That's the philosophy. So our employees basically vote and recommend their charity of choice, and that's added to the list.
So it has that. How long ago did you start the foundation?
And about 2.5 years ago.
Okay, so the company was still pretty young, and you got a lot of other things going on. You're dealing with growth, and it's still figuring it all out, but yet you have time to make this a priority.
Yes, because it just makes you feel good.
Right, and it feels like it's the right thing to do. And I'm sure that builds the culture of attracting people who want to work for a company who have a focus like you do with your foundation, I would assume as well.
Correct.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I had a whole other sheet of questions here, and I'm not going to get to them today here on Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. I do want to ask you, though, would you come back?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I love the time here.
We're going to be in 1 to 3 years, Roy. Where do you see the company going if you had a crystal ball 1 to 3 years out?
$1 billion in revenue, publicly traded, and with multiple millions of dollars in the Set Schedule Charitable Foundation.
Wow. That was right off the top of his head, ladies and gentlemen. I love it, man. It's not the first time somebody asked you that question, huh? All right.
Actually, it was.
Oh, really? Wow.
Today.
Okay. Today. All right. Well, Roy, thank you for the time. I really enjoyed this interview, and I look forward to getting to know you and your company better. And I appreciate the insights that you transferred to my audience today on what a way to start the year, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Roy Dekel.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I also like to thank our engineer, Paul Roberts, who always engineers a good show, and our 3 producers without whom we could not do this show each and every week. Joan Park, Crystal Nunley, our newest producer, although I'm going to have to stop saying that because she's been with us for a while now, but she's still technically our newest, Vanessa Holland, who's here in the studio. If you'd like to connect with me, let's start on LinkedIn. I'm Richard Franzi, Franzi. And until our next show, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.
You have been listening to Critical Mass Radio Show Business Talk Show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.